In this video, we're going to take a look at the supply curve, what makes up a supply curve, what shifts a supply curve, and the supply is very similar in nature to demand, except instead of thinking like a consumer, you think of things as a producer, right? And we're selling goods. Right? So we want to look at the relationship between price and quantity when it comes to me wanting to sell a good, my willingness and ability to sell a good. So am I able to produce and sell some good? Am I willing and able to produce a good? Am I able to produce it? Am I able to sell it? What am I motivated to do when the price changes? So when we look at this, we can look at it in terms of, if I have a very low price, would I be profitable? Would I be able to sell? Or you can kind of even think of it, how many sellers would there be? What would the quantity of sellers be if the price of a good was very low? Let's say $1 for some good is very low, right? So let's say we're selling soda and the price of soda was $1. Would I have very many sellers? So we're gonna say at this low price, our quantity supplied is going to be very low. And so we can call that, let's say that's 20, right? So the quantity supplied is going to be very low. But what happens if the price of soda gets pushed up for whatever reason? All right, let's say another day, the price of soda is $2. What's going to happen to the quantity of supply? What's going to happen to the number of sellers? Well, it's going to go up. So let's say it goes up to 25. And then at 3, let's say it's 30, and at 4, it's at 35, right? And so as the price gets to be at a higher point, more people are able to sell. In other words, more people are profitable selling the good. So more people are going to try and sell the good. So the quantity supplied is very high as well. So in the law of supply, we say a direct relationship between the price of a good and the quantity supplied of a good. So when the price goes up, the quantity supplied goes up. And when the price goes down, the quantity supplied goes down. So there's this direct relationship between the two. So again, imagine you are a seller of some good, right? And that good is soda, right? Well, you might have more people able to sell at a high price, and therefore the quantity supplied is going to go up, right? This person can be profitable. This person can be profitable when the price is higher than it was before. Okay, so the quantity supplied is going to be higher as well. So just like in demand, we can model the relationship between price and quantity in this direct relationship of these two things moving together. And we can imagine what that supply curve may look like. Well, we don't have to imagine it. We can actually graph it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take kind of this set of numbers, and we're going to graph it in our model just like we do with the demand curve. And we're going to show the relationship between the price of a good and the quantity, this time talking quantity supplied, of soda. So if I set up my numbers, I can say I have a price of 1, of 2, 3, and 4, and then I can plot my quantities with each one of those. So we know that at a relatively low price that we have a relatively low quantity, right? So we're going to call this 20 right there, and we have our first point to plot there. And we know that we're going to be heading that direction. And the reason why we're heading up and to the right is because every time the price goes up, the quantity goes up, because there's a direct relationship between the two. Right? So if we take a look at this next point, we'll see that at 2, the quantity is 25. So we can say at 2, we're at 25. And at 3, we're at 30, something like that point there. And at 4, we're at 35, just something like that point right there. So just like we said, we're going up and to the right. We have a supply curve that looks something like that. That's my supply curve. So what causes a change in the quantity supplied? What causes a change in quantity supplied? Well, the answer is just like what causes a change in quantity demand, it's a change in price. Now, we don't know what necessarily causes the price to change, but if some supplier one day decides, you know what, I'm going to charge a higher price, well, the quantity supplied is going to change. The quantity supplied is going to change. This is inside the model. So these are factors inside this model. The only two things changing are price and quantity. They are found on the Y and the X axis. In the next video, we're going to talk about the things that are the determinants of supply, right? What might shift the entire supply curve? What might change supply, not just the quantity supplied? Again, quantity supplied are these points that we've already plotted out. 1 and 20, 2 and 25, 3 and 30, 4 and 35. Right? That's changes in prices and changes in quantities along each one of these points. What would change the whole supply curve? What would cause the whole supply curve to be further to the right or further to the left? What might cause that to change? So in our next video, we'll explore some of those determinants of supply, or what causes supply to shift.